But good morning, and thank you so much for being here on this webinar. So thank you so much for joining. I'd like to introduce myself. I am Samantha Coates, and I am the publisher and creator and author of Blitz Books, which is a series of theory and sight reading and repertoire books. And I can see lots of really familiar faces, and it's just lovely to be here with you all. And if you're here for the first time because you're mostly a Little Gems user and not a Rote Repertoire user, I composed these pieces have been around for around about 7 years now. My theory and sight reading books have been around for 23 years, and I just love piano teaching and everything to do with piano pedagogy. And this is exactly the same for my very special guest this morning, which is Paula Dreyer. And I am so excited to be able to have her with me today. And soon we're going to, and I also want to introduce Beth, who's going to be helping us enormously with everything technical today. So good morning, Paula, and tell us about you.
Good morning. For me, it's good evening to everybody. So my name is Paula Dreyer, and I live in a beautiful mountain town called Bend, Oregon. And I'm a pianist, performer, composer, educator, presenter. So I love doing all things piano related. And I'm the creator of a series of piano books called Little Gems for Piano. And I initially started the series about 20 years ago. And I wrote them because I had an adult student who was not happy with any of his pieces for a recital. So on the spot, I ended up composing a piece and taught it to him by rote, and decided I wanted to write a whole collection of pieces that could be taught through demonstration and through listening. So that's how it all started. And then now I've expanded into about 5 books that I look forward to showing you all. And I'm so excited to work with you today.
I am so excited as well. And the way this came about is because we discovered that we have some pieces that are named the same thing. And it's really interesting because these pieces do not sound the same as each other at all, but the titles are the same. And so we thought it'd be a really fun idea to have a showcase session where we actually each take turns of showing these pieces that we have titled the same. So that's going to be the format of today, where and the first piece that we're going to do is Paula's going to show you the free piece that you got just for signing up. So hopefully you've managed to download that. It's a gorgeous little piece called Change of Mood. And I should have said that I live in Sydney, Australia, and Paula and I met for the first time at, I think it was NCKP, the conference in Chicago, just outside Chicago in 2019. And I had started using Little Gems and absolutely adored them, and had to go and say hello to Paula, and that's how we met. And so it's really, really exciting. And also I started writing the Rote Repertoire pieces also out of necessity for students who could not sight read. And that my goal for this repertoire is to bring together the concepts of rote and reading. So we're going to talk about all of that. We'll go through everything. You're going to hopefully see about 10 pieces this morning. There's going to be more giveaways. And thank you so much for being on the call. There's a bonus for attending live, which will come later on. So I'm going to kick it over to Paula now, who's going to talk about the piece that you all got for free called Change of Mood.
All right. So I also wanted to mention it is springtime here in Oregon. Everything is in bloom, and I'm having some pretty crazy allergies, and it's a little bit hard for me to talk sometimes. I run out of air. So please excuse my cough drop. I have a cough drop, and I hope it's not annoying. Okay, the first thing I want to show you is the series of books that I mentioned, so Little Gems for Piano. And there are 5 books total, and we'll get through 4 out of the 5 today, just by chance. And we're bouncing all around, so I wanted to quickly just give you a brief overview. So it starts with a primer level, and this can be used in the very first lesson. There are 20 pieces, half of them are duets, and they're wonderful for teaching a very intentional technical sequence. So the only things technically that are happening are detached articulation with the longer 3 fingers, 2-note slurs, 3-note slurs, staccato notes, and in the end there are a couple fifths. And even though there's such minimal technical things going on, the pieces are very beautiful and expansive, wonderful for recitals. Then the next one is a very similar level. This is called the Creative Primer. And this one I wrote with Marilyn Lowe from Music Learning Theory. And this one has a lot of creative suggestions, and the student can create their own titles and their own drawings, illustrations. It has a lot of creative suggestions in there. So similar level to the primer, but a lot more, a lot of freedom going on in there. Next is Volume 1 for beginners, and this is the one I wrote 20 years ago. And this one has nothing larger than a fifth. So it's still, they're not in a 5-finger position by any means, but nothing is larger than a fifth. This one is early intermediate level, and now their hand has to be able to reach a 6th, a 7th, or an octave. And all of these work really well for recitals. They're all very, very pattern based, so they can be learned very quickly, very motivating. Everything sounds impressive, even though it is quite simple to play. And then this one is my solo piano album called Central Star. So there's a whole transcription of it, and this goes from an intermediate level all the way to concert level. So that's an overview of all the books. And if you ever want to check anything out, there is so much information on my website. So my name is Paula Dreyer with an E, Dreyer. So it's pauladreyer.com. It has everything you could possibly want to know about what I offer. And if you don't want to roll the dice about how to spell my name, you can also go to littlegemsforpiano.com, and it will automatically direct you. So anything Little Gems related is just right here under the books. And then I offer like improvisation programs. If you live in the Pacific Northwest, I have concerts. There's the album. So everything you could ever want to know is there. So that's a general overview. And then I'm going to move into Change of Mood, which is kind of right in the middle of this series. So that's in Volume 1. That does not go farther than, it's in Volume 2, which they have to be able to reach a 6th, 7th, or octave by this point. It's called the Early Intermediate Level, Volume 2. So if you happen to have the book, it's on page 10. And if you happen to have the PDF, it's page 17. And then this was the freebie. So I'll just play it for you first. And then I'll stop this screen share to just show you a few things. Actually, before I stop it, if you look at this left hand, you can see there's the C and the G, which would fit really nicely in the hand. But in this next bar in your left hand, when the thumb has to move to an A flat, that's where you could easily twist. So I'm going to show an overhead view. So here's the fifth, nice and comfy. But many students will go like this. They keep their 5 exactly where it was, and then they twist the wrist in order to get that short finger on a black key. So I studied the Taubman technique for about 10 years, and this was one of the first principles that I learned, is that if you have your 1 or your 5, the shorter fingers, and they're moving into a black key, you have to shift everything in. So this piece is wonderful for just teaching that in and out motion to the students so that they're not twisting in an uncomfortable way. So the way I teach it is just blocking that fifth, and then they block the sixth, and you can see how I really shifted in to get that. So it's necessary that they move in on the note right before the black key. So you teach them to go here, and then they walk in so that they're not twisting. And the way you show that in the music is in Taubman, they put a little arrow right above the note where you need to walk in. So in this case, it would be on the C right before that A flat. So really wonderful for just teaching the body awareness of avoiding the twisting and just kind of talking about the way that the hand is shaped and how they need to move the arms to adjust. And then when I decided to write this level, I took a sheet of paper and I wrote down every concept I could think of that I wanted to include. So they're very pedagogical. I wrote things such as glissando, whole tone, chromatic, major and minor differences, triads, broken triads, block triads, intervals. So all sorts of concepts that I teach, and then I just took each concept and wrote a piece off of it. So with change of mood, I really loved exploring just that subtle difference between the major and the minor. So with this piece, I think it's very effective if they're learning their 5-finger patterns, instead of simply just having them go home and practice all of them. It's much more fun to put it into the piece, so you're noticing, okay, this one has the C minor, what's the difference? Okay, it has the E flat, that's the difference, the third note. And then once they know all of them, how many keys can they take it into? So let's say you are going to start in D. All they have to notice is in the original piece, minor, it goes up a minor third. So you can teach about that movement, and it's just always major, minor, major, minor. So all I have to do is figure out what is a minor third away. So if you're at D, you're at D minor. Okay, minor third would be this. Here's my F major, F minor, etc. So it takes a lot of thought, but it's a wonderful way to really go through those 5-finger patterns within a piece, and gives it a lot more context. And then I think this one is very fun for talking about moods in general. So you can keep it completely music related and just have them describe, like, how does this measure compared to this one? So coming up with adjectives to describe them. So the most common ones, of course, are that one sounds happy and that one sounds sad. But can you brainstorm with them and try to come up with different words? So I'm just curious, does anyone have some great adjectives they like to use with students besides happy and sad for teaching major and minor? Feel free to raise your hand. Don't be shy. I'd love to meet people. Laura Sherman, thank you for raising your hand.
Minor, I'll use mysterious. A lot of times I'll introduce minor with Halloween.
For major, you use mysterious. Is that what you said?
For minor.
Oh, for minor, mysterious. And then what about for major?
I do use happy with major. I haven't used
Happy and
it.
mysterious.
A lot of
Okay, love it.
Yeah, or lively sometimes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's wonderful, brainstorm different adjectives. And then I noticed in this one, because it's constantly major, minor, it really has an indecisive sound to me. And then you're like, oh, I don't know. And then, oh yeah, I think I will do that. Oh, I don't know. So when it's changing a lot, it kind of gives an indecisive mood. And then if you want to get to know the students better, I think it's wonderful to kind of normalize that we all have all of these different emotions. And you can, for instance, I have 2 daughters, and a lot of times at dinner I'll say, what was your high and low today? So the high is something great that happened in the day, and the low is, something that wasn't so great that day. So you can compare these musical sounds to maybe their highs and lows of that day, and maybe they'll want to share something specific that happened to them. It's a great way to get to know them. So kind of comparing the feelings and moods of music to their own lives. And I think that was everything I wanted to say about this one.
Thank you, Paula. I had completely forgotten that you did Taubman for 10 years, because I have been doing Taubman for about 5 years, and my pieces are also supposed to be have ergonomic considerations like yours. But I just love the change of tonality with change of moods in that piece. And I have a piece that is similarly titled. It's called Changing Moods, and we're going to end with that one. That's going to be the live bonus. Now, we are going to be hurrying through some of the other pieces because we have so many to go. We are not going to spend that long on every piece, don't worry. So now we're going to change to a piece of mine called Zero Gravity. And the idea of all of these pieces that I'm going to show you today is that it's taught by rote at first, and then we start engaging with the score after that. Now, I could see from the sign up that quite a few people have used rote repertoire before, so you're probably familiar with the process, but just in case, I am going to go through the process, and especially for those people who are not familiar with it, the idea is to combine the elements of rote and reading. Back to you, Paula.
All right, so we're going to go backwards in time. As I just said, I played the middle level for change of mood, and then now I'm going to the very first primer level. This is I have some of my favorite tunes in this one, the primer. So I already talked about the technical sequence, and the piece I'm going to show you has the 2-note slurs. So I was telling Samantha the other day that I really remember that feeling of being around 12 or so and learning a Mozart sonata or something that had these slurs, and I had a really hard time they were 2-note slurs, and I had a hard time coordinating the two hands and picking up after the slur because I'd never been formally taught how to do that motion. So sometimes we teach these things too late after the repertoire already demands it, but you can teach the technical motions from the very beginning. That way, that's just anytime they see a 2-note slur, that's how they do it. So I love Zero Gravity for that one. And I'm going to show you a video of these two precious children that are playing it. So it's a teacher-student duet where the student part is intended to be taught by the imitation and the rote, and just by chance the other student learned the teacher duet part. It's very simple with just fifths and 2-note slurs in the right hand. So this is two students playing the teacher-student duet. So this was the website I showed you, and I'm just going to go to the Little Gems for Piano page. Here you can read all about all the books. There's little promotional videos of each book if you want to learn more about it. And there's a cute little page of some kids all over the world playing some of the pieces. So here they are. Here's Zero Gravity. Then it repeats. So one of my favorite parts about that book is that it just sounds so sophisticated, even though all they're doing is either landing on the third finger or a two-note slur. It's very simple, but this is the combinations of the sounds make it sound very sophisticated. So, as I mentioned, this one is just really wonderful for teaching those two-note slurs. So there's a lot going on with the two-note slur, the dropping and the lifting off of the second note. And then they really have to use their ears strongly so that they're hearing the strong and then the lighter note. And then lifting. So after you've really integrated, how they can play the two-note slur, there are creative suggestions on every piece. So you can see here's the music, and there's always things that say, did you notice? So this one, it's often like imaginative. So imagine an astronaut walking on the moon. What do they move like? Sometimes they move up, sometimes they move down. Like imagine your arm moving like the astronaut. So just something imaginative. And then every piece has a creative suggestion. So for this one, it says put down the right foot pedal. The pedal always makes everything beautiful as long as they're not too low. And then they play the exact same bass line. And in the right hand, you just improvise on any white keys using two-note slurs. And everything's going to sound good, and just end it on C. So you give them just a way to end so that it sounds in the key. So I'll just completely make this up, but they could do something like... So many different ways to do that, and you can work on the slurs either going up or going down, just like this piece does. And yeah, that's it. So I love the all the rote pieces for teaching technique, because their eyes are not bogged down by the score. They can really look at their hands, look at the piano, use their ear, really pay attention to all of these very specific things that we're trying to teach them without overwhelming them. Thank you.
Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. I love that concept of zero gravity being about also floating off the two-note slurs, and it just has that gorgeous air about it. It's fantastic. And I love playing that one as a duet with my students, and they love it too. And it's so true with rote teaching. They're not that's the whole point. They can concentrate on their technique and not be bogged down by the notation at first. So now my zero gravity is not so much to do with the feeling of what's happening in hands, but the soundscape. I've based it on a whole tone scale. So the only notes that are in it are 3 black notes here, and eventually there will be an E. And then in the left hand, we just have C's. And the pedal is on the whole time, but this can be taught to a beginner in their first 6 months of learning. All of my pieces are ranked according to a number of hats within a 2-year period of being a beginner. So 1 hat is for 0 to 6 months of lessons. And the teacher can hold the pedal down. They can have a pedal extender. The parent can hold the pedal down if they can't reach it. But I'm going to teach you this piece by rote now. And it's very easy. So, and maybe Paula can be my student who comes off mute to try this. So basically, can you just get 3 black notes, and we'll go through this quite quickly. And we're going to go 3 black notes. We're going to go going down and then going up. And then we're going to have C, C, C. That's all we're going to do. Can you play that? And then the next thing is we just do that again. So So imagine I've shown that to you and you've done it again. And then we're going to finish off with, you can use your fist to play 3 black notes. And then another one up high with a break in between. Excellent. And then just a nice low C down here to finish off. Okay, beautiful. So then imagine that we've played that whole piece through and you've gone home, you've been playing it like that for about a week. Then what will happen is the next thing is that I will show you the music in the lesson and say, okay, well, this is what you just played. So I'm going to share my screen and show you the score now for Zero Gravity. But remember, you've already played Zero Gravity. You know all play. You're not going to be too bogged down by the score. But this is what it looks like. And for students who can't read music very well, this is just a picture. And that is totally fine for us to have a picture of notes on the screen. So now we can play it again looking at the score. And that's what I would ask the student to do. And we can choose whether we have that last note loud or soft. And we're going to hold it for a long time. So now what I'm going to do is show you level 2. And the idea here is students will then compare the score of level 1 and level 2. So Paula, what differences do you see in level 2?
Well, in the second bar, I see 2 Fs.
Yes, and you won't know what those mean because you've just started piano. So that means now we can play loud. We're going to play those Cs loud. What else do you see is different?
In the next line, it looks like there's 2 Ps and then the loud, and then another 2 Ps.
We go back to soft, yes.
Yeah. So lots of the dynamics are added.
Yes.
And then at the very end, it looks very different with all of these little lines.
Yes. And what we can do is say to our students, when things suddenly jump a lot lower, that usually means it's just going to the next one on the piano. And there is one more difference, a big difference.
In the fourth measure, they're going an opposite way.
That's right. So how will that sound? How will that sound if the C's are going the opposite way? What will you play?
Yes.
That's exactly right. And I've never had a student, even who's very young, who didn't kind of get that if it's going the other way on the page, then we're just going to play the C's in the opposite order. Okay, so now Paula, can you play all of level 2 for us? And this time you've got the soft and the loud, soft and loud as well. That sounds awesome. Okay, now we haven't finished yet. So that might be week 2 of teaching this piece, or it might be minute 2. If you've got an intermediate student who is a bit rough with sight reading, this is a really great way to address it. Okay, now Paula, what do you see is different in level 3?
Well, level 3 has more notes in the very beginning. There's 1 extra note.
There is 1 extra note. Okay, so this is where we sort of need to use a little bit of rote teaching. So if you were right next to me, I would say, okay, now we're just going to go down to our thumb. And this bit's going to sound like this. And I would get my student to just try that. And then they can see that the same thing happens in bar 3. And are there any other changes?
And then in the second to last bar, there's one of those fun things happening on each beat.
Oh, yeah. So now we get 2 with the right hand without a break, and then 2 with the left hand without a break. So it looks really complicated on the score, but it's kind of easy and fun to work out what that might mean. Okay, so now maybe you can play for us all of level 3.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so
Mm.
the idea of that is that a student who has not been learning piano for very long at all and can probably hardly read any notes can play a sophisticated sounding piece that are essentially playing by rote, but they also are able to engage with the score because there's no harm in being able to see how it works on the score. We don't have to go into complicated explanations of exactly what the flats mean or exactly what ledger lines mean. It's the beginning of all reading skills, just to make associations with what's going on the page. So that's zero gravity, and there's a 50% off special on that piece. And the link for that will go in the chat, but you don't actually have to worry about that because we're going to send you the link in the follow-up email as well. So all of the pieces are on my Rote Repertoire site, and they are studio licensed, which means you can print billions of copies for every student forever. And each piece comes with video teaching tutorials, audio files, a teacher guide, and the 3 levels of the PDF sheet music. So that is an example of a 1-hat piece. Now I'm going to go on to an example of a 2-hat piece, and this is something that would be for a student that have been learning in their second 6 months of learning, let's say 6 to 12 months, and it's called Back and Forth. And this one is actually going to be a freebie for you today. So I'm excited to show it to you. What I'm going to do is share my screen and show you the score first, even though I normally wouldn't do that for a student. So this is in B flat minor. Now we're not going to discuss the key signature of B flat minor, but the reason I like this key is because it's very, very ergonomic. When we are playing piano, C major is actually one of the most uncomfortable keys to play in, especially if we're trying to jam both thumbs on middle C. It's not a great position for beginners because we have what's called ulnar deviation, and it's just not great for alignment. But B flat minor is fantastic because we've got long fingers on the black notes and short fingers on the white notes, and it just lends itself to a really natural hand position. So just to be teaching this by rote, I would actually probably send a video of this to my students to get them to listen to it before they actually learn to play it. And so an example of what I would send to a student is a YouTube video, which I hopefully Beth has this ready to play. Here it is. This is the level 1 reminder video of Back and Forth. That is very simple. It's going back and forth from the D flat to the E flat in the right hand, back and forth between those 2 black notes. And actually, there's also going to be some back and forth between D flat and C in the right hand. But having the student listen to that or watch that at least 3 times during the week makes it much easier to teach something by rote when they come to the lesson. Also, it's really important to have a reminder video because after you teach them something by rote in the lesson, the classic thing is that maybe they can do it in the lesson, and then they go home, and then they have gymnastics the next day and taekwondo the next day and soccer the next day and ballet the next day, and then they don't even practice until 5 days after the lesson. They can't remember what you taught them by rote. So it's really important for them to have a reminder video. So now we'll go back to the score, and I will show you what happens in level 2. So maybe, Paula, you can tell us what you see happening in level 2.
I see an extra note in the first bar and an extra note in the second bar. And in the third, and in the fourth, and in the fifth, and in the sixth.
Yes.
Every single measure has an extra note.
Right.
Except the last 3.
Yes. And now there is a bit of consistency with what this extra note is. It's your thumb on C pretty much every time. So every time your right hand has the bottom black note, it goes to C, and then the C butts in for the, so we've played level 1, we can fluently play level 1, and then it's a pretty simple matter of putting in those Cs. So Paula, can you now play us level 2? Beautiful. Okay. And then when you're feeling comfortable with that, then we move on and we spot the difference between level 2 and level 3. What's happening now?
There's some fun eighth notes.
Yeah.
The melody's a little bit different.
That's right. And so now we have a bit of a wiggle between the two. This is where our backwards and forwards comes here, back and forth. Back and forth. That's why I called this one back and forth. So we're constantly going backwards and forwards between second finger and thumb. And this one has actually quite a fun backing track that goes with it. A lot of my pieces the packs now come with backing track as an extra thing in the pack. And so maybe I'll just see if this will play. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this. This is level 3. Okay, so that is back and forth. And this one, I'm giving it away. It's a freebie today for you in this showcase. So there'll be a link to go and get that for free. And if you're watching the replay, don't worry, you still get that one for free. So when you go to the site, you sign up, you can download all of the things. There's audio files to send to your students. The teaching tutorials, actually, we're in the process of putting them all on YouTube. And in fact, the site that you go to, roterepertoire.com, is in the middle of being completely renovated. And there is a new site coming, which I'm very, very excited about. So you'll be logging into the old site, but it still works perfectly well. And then in a few weeks, we'll be prompting you to change your password on the new site, which is going to be even more user-friendly. So that is my version of back and forth. And now let's go and hear Paula's piece called Back and Forth.
So many thoughts are coming into my mind. I also thought of the back and forth words in my back and forth piece. It has the exact same rhythm, actually, back and forth, back and forth. So that is pretty fascinating. Okay, so back and forth in my primer book is also a duet, teacher-student, pretty big duet. So the students wouldn't be able to do this duet part. And this one is focusing on the 3-note slurs instead of the 2-note slurs. And they're, just like in Samantha's very fun piece, they alternate between the hands. So it's back and forth in between the hands. So I'm going to play the audio file so you can hear it with the duet. And my pieces also come with the instructional videos and audio files as well. And you don't have to enter any discount codes anywhere. Everything is already discounted. So it's all the prices are already discounted for you. And then there will be another freebie that I'll announce soon. So the audio file. So here it is, Little Gems video and audio. That's just one page that has everything you would want to watch or listen to. And here it comes. And then for all the audio tracks that have a duet, you can also have it with just the secondo part so that the student can practice on top of the secondo. And I'll keep this one very brief. Basically, I wrote this one to teach the 3-note slurs and to feel that connection of slurring between the hands. So you have to connect between the different hands and then lift. And it's very fun to use those words, back and forth, back and forth. And then I really recommend the student hearing the right hand as a melody on its own, because the left hand pretty much does a lot of repeated patterns, but the right hand has its own little tune, so you can use solfege or just a neutral syllable, making sure they really can sing this tune. And it's all third finger to work on that hand shape. And it's always stepping. And then I add. And then all the phrases have a pickup right here. So I always circle the phrases so that they can really see, because if you just look at it, it might be confusing. So I circle it starting at that pickup. And that brings me to the point of, I always have the music on the stand when I'm teaching by rote, and I write a lot in the music to give them little cues, and they're welcome to look at it when they need, or look at their hands. So the music is there as a guide if they need it. And that's back and forth.
That's beautiful. And now, Paula, you are going straight on to Lost at Sea.
Okay, this one is very exciting. This is from my solo album, Central Star. This I wrote a couple years ago, and it was nominated for Album of the Year on solopiano.com. So that's full of all solo piano music. And there are 15 tracks on it, and about 10 of them I use all the time for my middle and high school students. So it has just a lot of really engaging, that same like simply impressive quality that all the Little Gems books have. So this one is Lost at Sea, and I love to talk about the story. So I wrote this piece, and then a story started emerging in my mind, and it is people that go out to sea, and they're all happy, and they're in a big group on a boat, and then it gets very stormy and treacherous, so you can hear the waves moving along, and unfortunately the boat capsizes and everyone is lost at sea, never to be found again. So then the A section comes back higher, but it sounds very different because it has more of a melancholy feel to it. So I'm going to play Lost at Sea for you. Very fun music to be found in this whole collection. I use it all the time for my concerts, for I play some church gigs, and I'll play this before the service or after. Um, yeah, just really fun music to discover with your middle and high school and adult students. And everything on my website is available as hard copies or single-use downloads or unlimited downloads, and they're heavily discounted right now, so it's an awesome time. And then this one I just played is actually going to be your freebie, so look out for Lost at Sea. And the code is free Lost at Sea, but we'll get you all that information.
That is so exciting. Thank you, Paula. It's beautiful. And I did write in the chat just to clarify, because we did market this showcase as music for beginners, but that is not a piece for a beginner, is it, Paula?
No, but the beginners turn into that in a few years.
Yes, a few years. That's right. Okay, now my Lost at Sea is probably, I don't know, it's not quite as tragic as that. That nearly brought me to tears, that piece. It was absolutely so beautiful. My Lost at Sea is, I sort of named it because it's got this sort of like a sort of sound to it. And it is in A minor and explores the fifths and sixths in the left hand. But it was still definitely both minor. I don't think you would ever compose a piece that was in a happy major key and had a bright staccato feel and call it Lost at Sea. Titles are very, very important, and they create such a picture for the student. And sometimes students really, really have a lot of emotion invested in the title. Sometimes a student won't even want to play a piece because of the title, and which can be frustrating because we know that that's a great piece for them. So I sometimes let my students change the title if they really don't like it and they can think of a better one. But anyway, Lost at Sea is the next one that I'm going to show you. And what I'm going to do is, because I'm sure that you all sort of have an idea of what is happening with the process now, I'm not going to bother, going all the way through levels 1, 2, and 3 painstakingly slowly. But what happens in level 1 of Lost at Sea here is we just have our fifths and sixths set up in the left hand, and we just have thirds in the right hand. Because this is a fairly long piece because of the tempo, this lends itself really well to what I call semi-rote teaching. So if you have an early intermediate student or even a more advanced student who needs help with sight reading, you kind of set them up in the right hand position, say, okay, well, your left hand's just doing this and your right hand's here on A and C, and then goes to the next two notes and the next two notes. And then they can kind of sight read this piece because you've already set their hand position up. And you can say you're in A minor. So that's level 1, very simple. And then in level 2, what is happening is that the thirds are now broken, and they'll see, oh, the piece is, the actual piece is much longer. That's the first thing they spot on the page when they see level 2. And then, so we've got broken thirds. And we've got dynamics coming down at the end. And then this is level 3. And what's happening in level 3, as you can see, is now those thirds are filled in. They're filled in with passing notes. If you're sort of wanting to have a look and choose a piece on the Rote Repertoire site, there are actually videos which are called a sneak peek of level 3. And this is so that you can hear all of level 3 now and to be able to look at the score. Okay, here we go. It's quite a long piece, but it really is great for sight reading once they've spotted the differences in the score, because they're really engaged all the way through. There is a 50% off special for Lost at Sea as well. You'll get that in your follow-up email. But unfortunately, it says on the page something like "Get Lost at Sea." So get Lost at Sea for 50% off. But that's coming. Okay, moving on to the next piece, which I've called Stomping Ground, mainly because of the tenuto touch all the way through. And this piece is in the Phrygian mode. I absolutely adore the Phrygian mode. I have composed a lot of pieces in Phrygian mode because I just love this sort of sound. So I'm just going to very quickly show you levels 1 and 2, and then I'm going to show you one of the video teaching tutorials that are in every pack to talk you through from a teaching point of view of how you would actually go from one level to another. So here's what Stomping Ground looks like, level 1. And this is the level that would be taught by Rote. So we would just get students going upper semitone with fifths, get them comfortable with that. And the right hand is just in minor second, major seconds. And then we change hand position. So I'm just going to very quickly, that's just an overview of level 1. Then in level 2, we just have slightly more repeated notes. I know I'm going through this very quickly, but we want to make sure that we get all of the pieces in here before you leave us today. And then from here, from level 2, we've got sort of just very similarly in crotchets. And I want you to imagine that a student can play this, which finishes the last 4 bars go like this. So that little ending is worth practicing because it's a bit of a trick having the crotchets on beats 2 and 3 instead of 1 and 3. So now we're going to show you a teaching tutorial video, which comes with all the packs, comes with all the pieces.
When students are shown the score for level 3, they can spot a huge change, and that is that there is a great big extra bar at the end, forming an extra line of the piece. There's not much to play in the last line there. All that's going to happen is they jump down and play the last 2 notes again an octave lower. So the last 2 bars of the piece sound like this. Move and wait. And they need to move and get ready so that they can play it softly as it's directed on the score. The other big change is that now the right hand has a slightly different motive, as we can see in bar 3. So instead of repeated C's, now we have, which is not that hard to play. We just have to have a go at it first. So now we've got, and then we shift, and bars 5 and 6 are exactly the same. Once we've incorporated those changes, level 3 is pretty easy to master, and it's fun to play the ending. I hope your students have fun.
This piece is really fun, and in this pack there is also a duet part. There are over 100 pieces on the site. In fact, I think there are over 120 pieces, each presented in one of 4 hat levels, so 1 hat, 2 hat, 3 hat, or 4 hat pieces. And for some of them, Michelle Matter and I have composed duet parts. We have a lot of fun just sitting down and figuring out what will sound good and what will also feel good, because we want the student who's playing level 3, or the student who's, we want level 3 to be staying where it's notated, and the duet part, the person who's doing the duet is sort of jumping all over the keyboard. So now I'm going to show you a video of me and a student playing the Stomping Ground duet. So it's fun to be reaching all over each other and going all over the keyboard. And the duet part just lends a really different feel to the piece, actually. So there is also a 50% off special on Stomping Ground, and it's a really cool pack because it does come with the duet part, and it also comes with the backing track, which you can listen to yourself. We're running out of time, so I'm not going to play it for you right now. But now let's go and hear Paula's stomping. Well, hers has got an S on it, Stomping Grounds.
Right. I had to look that up myself. Did I call it Stomping Ground or Stomping Grounds? It is Grounds. I also wanted to show all the illustrations. They're either done by my husband or by myself. So my husband's a very good artist. I am average, so this was my cloud and his beautiful boot. But that's a fun part of the books, the little drawings that go along with it. So here we chose a boot, like as if you're stomping around. And my Stomping Grounds also has a lot of fifths in it. And I'll do my overhead view. This one is very fun for students, great for recitals. The main thing I teach through this one is the pedaling, because this is the first one. This is from volume 1. This is the first one that has pedal changes. So a lot of times the pedal is down the whole piece, but this has very specific changes. And the way I teach the pedal changes is through a pencil eraser. So if you go to my blog, I have a whole blog about how to teach pedaling with a pencil. So it's pauladreyer.com, and you can find the blog there. But I'll be very quick. I have the student put the key down with the pencil, and the pedal is also down. And then when they change the note, the pedal goes up and immediately back down. And there's something about like holding an object instead of just your finger that makes it a little bit easier to process. And then I move to the finger and the pedal, and then to the fifths and a pedal. And then the last step is actually the fifths that happen in this piece. So this is a great piece for teaching the timing of the pedal changes, and it's also great for the timing of crossovers, because you have to do that arch because one hand is crossing over. So working on that timing rather than doing it at the last second and making it jerky. And then the last thing I'll show you is when they cross over, instead of doing what's written, they could just improvise a little bit of the C minor. So you keep the first half of the bar the same, and you cross over and improvise. So I just improvised on C, D, E flat on the higher ones. That can be a fun activity. Thank you so much for listening to all the little gems, pieces, and Central Star, and reach out if you have any questions, and I think everything will be sent to you for all of that information. And thank you, Samantha, for this invite.
Oh, I love that piece, Paula. I absolutely love it. And now we've still got one piece to go because so we've done all the ones, that are titled almost exactly the same, but now we're going to sort of come full circle talking about the first piece that you showed us today, which was Change of Mood, and it was called Change of Mood because of the tonality changing, major and minor. And my one that is similarly titled is called Changing Moods. And so this one is also, the tonality just keeps changing and changing. And in fact, at the end of the piece, the student gets to choose what tonality they would like. This one is actually in 3/4. And this is another free piece for you today. This is your live bonus, which is coming up now. And if you're watching the replay, there's a 50% off special on this piece. So it's in D major, but the left hand is in charge of the tonality. So the left hand has like a D major chord minus the bottom note. So here's D major. and then leave out the D on the bottom. Here's D minor, leave out the D on the bottom. The right hand has the Ds. So we can get students to do this. Get them to do a few times, just feeling that in D major. And then we can change it to D minor. And just get the feel of which mood appeals to them that day, and being able to hear the difference. So here is the music of changing moods. I was nearly calling it Paula's title. So here it is. Okay, so this is level 1 of changing moods. We have the key signature of D major, and then we have accidentals for when it's going to D minor. So I'll play you level 1. And then we have that open tonality at the end. Then the changes that you can see between levels 1 and 2 are that we have actually a scale motion going up, and it is going up in D major, and it's coming down in D major in line 2. And then we have fifths in the last line. And then it still stays in that open tonality. Then when students are ready to go on to level 3, which could be in the 3rd week of playing this piece, or it could be in the 3rd minute of playing this piece. As I mentioned, I've had older students who just love doing this as a sort of advanced sight reading activity. Now, I also enjoy teaching this in groups and did it a lot in Australian music schools when I was teaching groups there. And this is really fun when you hand out the music to a group of students and ask them to spot the difference. I once had a student whose eyes were drawn to the last bar where it says choose F sharp or F, and he knew we were in a group setting, and he started to look horrified. He realized, what's going to happen if we choose different things? Oh my gosh. And he started saying, everyone has to choose F sharp. Everyone has to choose F sharp. And he was ordering everyone around. It was very funny. But students get to choose the tonality that they want at the end there. So I'm just going to play you level 3. Here we go. And maybe we should vote. The first person to come off mute and tell me what tonality they want for the end, that's what I will do. Nobody. Major? Was that a major? I didn't quite hear it. Was that major? I think it was. Okay, I will do major. So here's level 3. Now, what I absolutely love to do with students is to get them thinking creatively, and I ask them to make up their own level 4 of any of these pieces. It's become the most favorite part of my teaching, to get students to do their own thing. And they find it not daunting at all, because they've essentially just played 3 variations of the piece. So they are okay with just making more changes and making up a level 4. So actually we've got a couple of students, I've got a couple of students' videos to show you. First is Isaac and next is Jed. This is Isaac's level 4. So he decided to transpose it. Okay, we've just got one more, and then here comes your live link. This is Jed's level 4. So I hope that gives you an idea of what maybe you might like to do with your own students, because getting them to be creative gives them ownership and agency over the piece and really is a true sign of engagement with music. Okay, so it's time to wrap up. I'm sorry we have gone a few minutes over. Maybe we can, I might bring Paula back just in case anyone has any questions, if you would like us to answer any. Or Beth, did you happen to see any burning questions in the chat?
I did not. You ladies did a great job of kind of answering as we went.
It's been so lovely to see you all this morning. And Paula, thank you so much for your time and your beautiful, beautiful music, which I just adore.
Thank you. It was so much fun to see people from all around the world, and thank you for the invite.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. So you are going to get a follow-up email with all of the information in it, all of the links to the 50% off specials. Make sure that link, that changing moods link, has that gone into the chat, Beth? Because that's our live bonus.
Yes, ma'am, it has.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, that's gone in. So make sure you download that, because once this meeting ends and once the chat closes, it won't be available. But in the replay, then there will be a 50% off special. There will be lots of things going out in your follow-up email, including a summary of everything that we've talked about and some of the videos that we've shown, and so that you can look those up again if you would like. Also, on the Rote Repertoire site, because we're having a renovation of it, we're actually having a renovation sale. And if you would actually like access to the entire library of pieces, there is a lifetime memberships option, which is on special, and it is currently $280 off the price. It's the total catalog is valued at over $1,500 now. And the lifetime membership is usually $870, and that is currently on special for a lot less, $280 off that. $500. It's so that is worth exploring if you're interested in full and permanent access on that. And I'll send you details about that in the follow-up email. So for now, thank you again to Paula, the amazing Paula Dreyer. I hope you all have fun going and exploring Little Gems and teaching it to your students, and hope you have a great time with all these pieces. And thank you for joining us. And bye.
Thank you.